Tom is a pretty good default pick as a support for Sona AD. He's good into CC and bursts like Lux Binding or Sejuani ult or whatever, because he can just eat Sona instantly and stop her from getting bursted. It's also safe and strong early and can actually win some fights if the enemy bot overextends. And Tom is pretty hard to poke down with his gray health and your heals, so Tom Sona is good into most matchups, and particularly good into certain champions who would normally be very scary for Sona. Not many people play Ornn, but I think he's actually really good with Sona. The main thing is his W makes him CC immune, so he can block hooks without getting pulled himself, which is really nice because people pick hook champs into Sona, not Blitz, Pike, Thresh, to snowball before she outscales. And Sona can just die by getting hooked, and also if her support gets hooked, she can't do much DPS in return while they chunk Sona's support, so Ornn is a really nice answer to that with his W, because he just won't get pulled. Another nice synergy Ornn has with Sona is he can upgrade his Relic Shield to Targons without basing, so he can give you, more procs on that. And plus you have good engage at 6 with your ults and like good burst, and also if he goes really late he could upgrade your death cap. Pike farms well in my experience and gets kills and gives you gold, so Sona Pike can get a lot of gold in Snowball. The downside is you don't do much 2v2, so you kind of have to wait for something to happen. Either the enemy just messing up a lot or getting like a jungle gank or something. Also, Pike got nerfed, so I don't know how good it is still, but if you get ahead, you can just run around together killing people and you get a ton of gold. So it can carry pretty hard. I think Taric is only so prominent because Schubart's original post was Sona Taric, and people paid too much attention to the Taric part. I honestly think like Taric is not that good with Sona, at least in some ways. Like his ult takes 2.5 seconds to land, and most things kill Sona in less than that time, so his ult's really awkward with Sona, at least when you're trying to use it reactively to save her. And he's not very proactive, especially early game, because he can't really hit his stun on anybody with the mouse. So like, he doesn't seem perfect with Sona, but that being said, he does have good safety and sustain early and scales well. And honestly, basically any relic champ works. The main thing is just that they're a strong champ in their own. Maybe like some like Alistar I don't really like playing with, but in general, any good relic support will work well with Sona. Even ranged champs, by the way, like maybe theoretically they're sort of suboptimal because Sona doesn't get any farm early, or even relic procs. But like in practice, if it's a player who plays a range support, it's actually totally winnable. Like I've won with like Lulu, Nami, Lux, Bard, Karma, Zyra, supports playing Sona AD. Like I think I had a viewer actually who in Champ Select was like, I can only play Zyra. And if someone's a one-trick Zyra, that's your best chance of winning. And kind of surprisingly, maybe, I feel like I've actually won most of my Sona AD games with ranged supports, just because they're comfortable in the champ they're playing, which in solo queue counts for a lot. I banned Xayah to break Xayah Rakan because that combo can just be impossible to play against. The level 1 is really unplayable. Like, you're just guaranteed to burn flash or die. And then the level 6 is also kind of unplayable as well. And it's not like Xayah Rakan even has to snowball Versi like a Draven or something does. Like, they just scale well too. But Rakan on his own without Xayah is kind of beatable. Your Q outranges his W. Like, maybe you can't auto him, but you can Q him. The only thing you have to be aware of is if he has more move speed than you and can just like chase you down with his W, especially with his R or even his Guardian. But the matchup is definitely doable, and especially after the nerf to Rakan's RW, you can hopefully interrupt his combo with your ult. By contrast, Xayah is still pretty AIDS alone. She can run you down and like CC you and do pretty good damage. So she's a lot of kill potential early, but is also really hard to come back against because she can just dodge your ult with hers. So like, whereas for a lot of ADCs, you can get back in the game by ulting them, it's pretty hard to win versus Fed Xayah. And it's not like you even outscale Xayah that hard either. Like, the champ is just strong right now. For runes, the big choice is Klepto or Aerie. You can see the pages are mostly the same. Always absolute focus over Transcendence because it actually does something early, whereas with Transcendence, it just takes you a while to hit level 10. And by that point, the game can just be over. But also, it isn't like at 10 absolute focus stops working. It still gives you 17 AP at level 10. And for Sona, with your W and your squishiness, you pretty much always want to be over 70% health. Gathering Storm I like just for AP scaling. It's probably better past 10 minutes. Cosmic Insight is nice with all the mana you get from Tier and Seraphs to spam auras. I think it also reduces the Seraph's active item CD. And also just in general, CDR is great in Sona, and it also reduces your flash cooldown, which flash is super important for Sona. Free boosts you definitely need after the E nerf, and you want to buy AP instead of spending money on boots. Mana Flow versus Biscuits might be basically a wash because Biscuits aren't just for lane. They give max mana and you can sell them, so you get some value out of them. But Mana Flow with Serask is percent regen of a big mana pool, so it's a lot of mana regen. But like at that point, you might not even need more mana. But in general, these runes are all good, and the choice is just if you want Airy or Klepto. Klepto is good if you can auto, so the way I choose what keystone is I just imagine myself trying to auto in this matchup, and if I think it's possible, I'll go Klepto, and if not, I'll go Airy. If you can auto a lot, Klepto is great in that it gives gold, and it gives items to sell for more gold. Though some items can also be useful, like early game before you have tier or anything. Mana pots can make a big difference. Maybe AP pots or something in a fight. So you can get some good luck for sure with Klepto. But some lanes are a lot harder to auto in. So if you verse something like a Tom Vane, it'll probably be really easy to proc Klepto a lot. Whereas verse like Lux Kate, it's unlikely you'll get to auto that much. Also, if you're going Klepto, it's probably a pretty safe, easy lane. And you'll have biscuits every 3 minutes and potions from autoing or whatever. So you might be able to get away with only starting with 1 health potion. If it's a harder lane, I go Airy. That way you can poke with Q without having to go in auto range. The thing with Sona, though, is Airy applies on all your abilities, which means the Q aura will eat Airy if you're standing near your teammate when you Q the enemy bot lane, which is actually good if they take damage since Airy's shield is bigger than its poke, but a waste if not. So you want to keep that in mind when queuing people. But Airy can be nice to help your support tank poke. Like if you're versus like a Yumi or a Karma or something, and there's some delayed damage on their poke, like their Airy or Scorch or whatever, your Airy will help tank it. So versus poke champions where it's harder to auto, I like Airy more. And also I should mention Schubert is doing some crazy stuff with cut down and even like domination primary, which is all cool and good with Sona. Maybe it's good, I don't know. I just haven't tried it. You always, always, always start Spell Thieves. It gives AP and mana regen, but most importantly for Sona, you can just queue people to get easy money. So your support takes farm while you complete your quests, yada, yada, yada. Ideally, the support uses the Relic Shuttle and the cannon, so you can get them. And also, it's fine if your support doesn't get all the farm. Like if they would take a lot of damage for it, it's better to just miss a minion. And so since you really want to complete your quest and start farming as soon as possible, you want to back for Frostfang and TP back with it at 450 gold. Since you're looking to teleport anyways, it's fine to take poke before you want to teleport back, since you'll just regen the health and mana. Obviously you don't want to get all in, but maybe you want to try and queue people. Like maybe you can't auto them, but you can just queue them. And the 450 gold teleport feels sort of natural on Sona because not just you want your Frostfang, but also her mana is pretty low early, and the W is a really pathetic heal that just runs through your mana. So if you spam your W and Q, you're going to run out of sustain. So a lot of the times it's sort of if you're trading with Sona, you're going to need to teleport back in any case. So it just works out pretty well. But you don't always have to do the teleport at exactly 450 gold. It depends on the particular game. It can be really nice, though, sometimes when you teleport back and the enemy bot lane doesn't have teleport, so they don't back, because then if you're just sitting in lane for a while, you'll be sitting in lane with Frostfang and they won't have got new items. So all that time laning is really good for you. And in general, you kind of are going to get shoved in lane, especially in some matchups. You're just going to get shoved in. So it's fine. You just want to make friends with your tower, help your support farm sometimes, if they need an auto on the range minions or whatever. Maybe push the first wave if the enemy bot has to leash, or maybe if it's really easy lane, or the enemy bot lane just is really bad, you can just push. Depending on the lane matchup. After your teleport, you're going to try and complete your quest, and since you have no teleport at this point, the damage will stick on you a bit more. So you still want to go for Qs and go for autos if you can, and you want to trade as much as you can, but carefully. You don't really want to force an all-in yourself, and you don't really want to get hit by yourself, because in general, as Sona, like in any trade where they trade back on you, you lose. So you want to try and conserve your mana also, because your W heal is really tiny, and to use your W efficiently, you want to use for the shield as well as the heal. And if you're low and your support isn't, just use a potion instead of mana. And then some things to consider when trying to use your Q efficiently are if your mana flow band is up to proc, if you can hit 2 people with it, and if your ally will take the area or not. Although again, if they use the shield from the area, that's actually better, but if not, it's kind of wasted. You can complete your quest and start farming around, I don't know, maybe 7, 8, 9 minutes. It depends how well you're doing, and you can stack faster once you have Frostfang. So you want to start farming once you complete your quest, obviously, because then there's no penalty. And at this point, you get hopefully more gold within every minion wave than the enemy ADC if you can just sit in lane laning, because not only will you get gold from the minions, you'll get gold from poking. So you'll get more gold with every minion wave than they will. Also, you don't have to wait until 500 gold to start farming, because Frostfang stacks give 20 gold, so you can actually start farming at 440 gold with 3 stacks. Although you do need the support with you to get the stack gold, because if you queue them without your support near you, you'll lose the stack but not get gold. So it's important if you do this that you don't waste your stacks. But if you have your support with you, you can start farming with only 440 gold as long as you have 3 stacks. Even after you complete your quest, you still want to be farming with your support. One reason is Sona has really bad wave clear and needs help just clearing the waves quickly. And so to help out with farming, the support should rush the tier 3 relic item. And you can roam together after you wave clear together. And you both have wards and sweepers. And supports can still execute the cannons and melees, both to give them more gold and help them clear waves faster. Also, it's good to be with someone so that you can still get gold from the Frostfang poke. Now, for farming as Sona, your autos don't do much damage, so you have to wait until minions are very, very low to kill them with autos. It's a lot easier to use your Q to kill minions, so you want to just set them up for the Q active, or use a power chord, because that also does enough damage to easily last hit a minion. And so you can also use your Q auto bonus damage, because that also does enough damage to kill a minion. And so something with this for farming is if your power chord kills a minion, you lose the Q auto damage, which is useful because it gives you bonus damage on 2 autos to secure 2 minions. And in terms of items, once you have tier, you want to be rotating through spells anyway, so you can just use them to farm. And you can last hit with any power chord, although obviously Q does more damage. And also you can use your abilities to proc Sheen or Lich Bane. So you want to build Archangels eventually, but you can go either Tier or Amp Tomes first. Tier is really good versus poke, it helps you sustain up. But maybe you can also go 2 Amp Tomes or whatever first, or just 1 Amp Tome first even. You don't really need the stacks from Tier on its own. It doesn't give you very many, you get much more from your Archangels later. And if you don't have enough to get the full tier, a mana crystal on its own really sucks. And you want to be spending all your gold. Although something you can do is just get like a dark seal. And so ideally you just want to AFK farm, but there are a lot of ways you can easily lose. So if you're pushed in, giving a few plates is fine, but you can get dove. So you don't want to get poked down beforehand. On red side, you want to try and ward over the wall into the bushes. And in getting dove, hopefully you can ult whoever takes tower aggro and CC them under tower, and most supports can help you CC them and help heal you. You can also get invaded if you're pushed in, which is sort of a lose-lose scenario because you either lose the wave or you don't help your jungle. And so a lot of the times you usually just want to try and help your jungle so they don't just mental boom. Although you're pretty useless in skirmishes, so just try and do as much as you can without dying. Now, if you're pushing, you can lose an all-in, so make sure you're just poking with Q like aggressively, but also like slowly enough, and be sure you win before fighting, which depends a lot on the supports and their champs. And also you can get ganked, so try to ward sort of deeper in the river. And you do want to hit tower a lot because it gives you gold from your Frostfang, but try not to overstay hitting tower too much. So then mid game, like I don't know, maybe like 10 to 20 minutes is just stacking your Archangels. That item really gives excessive mana, so most of the time you want to try and just stack as much as you can. Like don't go completely out of mana, but like try to spam it on Archangel's cooldown. But with your ult, you can look for some all-ins, like if they're poked down or you have your jungler or something. You don't actually want or need to do anything proactive. You can kind of just wait for your spike, but like you do want to try and do what you can and like follow your team and play something around them with your ult if your team is in position to do something. And then you want to get Lich Bane next. I think Sheen first for the 45% cooldown reduction, and also a bit of damage for farming. But maybe some other options are okay, like Zonya's in some games for the stasis, like Athene's is possibly good, Sensor with some teams that use it really well, maybe, I'm not sure, like maybe a Banshees. But like in general, most of the time, Lich Bane is a good option just to carry. And so Sona AD is a bit different from support in that you can tell your team that you're waiting for Saros and 11, and they'll listen more, I think. And maybe it matters a bit more as well. And you get your earlier tier and archangels to stack, so it comes a bit earlier. And you can't always get tier early, but you can make sure you always stack it diligently and just spam abilities once you do get it. And then for levels, try to catch waves. ARAM is really good for Sona, but it's better at 11, so try to catch some waves if you can. And you can clear waves faster if you're with your support. Obviously, you don't get solo XP, but it's probably better in terms of tempo on the map. So this is your big power spike with Saros complete and level 11 and maybe a Lich Bane if you're doing really well. You're really strong now. This is what you tell your team. Saros and 11, like this is my power spike. You want to group in team fight. You want to force objectives like dragons, towers. If you get a pick, you can just group and do Baron, and then group and win. You don't have the highest DPS on Baron, maybe, but you're still really good at doing Baron because you can give everyone auras. And in general, you really, really want to just group and fight with Saros and 11. The Seraph's completion is really big. It gives AP, but also like it gives a shield. And if you remember to use that shield, it's really important. It's like a 300, 400 health shield, and that'll just like mess with people's combos and their sort of expectations for killing you, which is really important because Sona's gonna get focus as like a really high priority target. But also hitting 11 is really important because your ult gives your basic abilities cooldown reduction, so it means you can just spam them. And once you're 11, really, you can just stay alive, and that would be enough. That will win fights. But you can also look to sort of ult proactively. And you want to ult early. You don't want to save it. You don't want to look for like a multi-man ult and hold it too long. Anyone like going on to you who would kill you, you want to just ult them. If you can like just pick someone, ult them. Like ulting more people is nice, but like a one-man ult that your team can follow up is better than like a five-man ult, that you're holding your ult for. Your ult is really your only sort of one proactive mechanic you have that you can engage with. And so if you want to like make a comeback from behind or like a game-winning, big highlight play, it's your ult. And since you're 11, especially, if you ult one person and burst them, you can win the fight after just spamming auras. And in the fights, you mainly just want to spam all your abilities, but with your power chords, your E chord is good for chasing and for like kiting people. Your W chord reduces people's damage by like 40%, which is really, really strong. And your Q chord is good for burst. So, like, if you can't kill someone, you probably want to W chord them if they're going to do a lot of damage, especially. But if you can chase someone or kite them, E is good. And you really want to just be with your team for a few reasons. I think one is just that for your safety, you want to be with people so that they can peel you and you won't just be alone and die. Also, you can spam auras while you're with your team and, heal everyone, speed everyone up, give them the Q damage. And also, like, Sona's wave clear on her own is kind of slow. And then I think of Saras and 11 as your late game. Like, that's really the power spike that you want to go for in most games. But, like, if the game goes even longer, like late game, you can get like a death cap. At level 16, you're even stronger. Maybe in some games you could get a Mage Eyes. At this point, you're really insane, and you can hopefully just like group and Baron and win. And it's pretty strange if you have a level 16 Sona and you can't just like group and win.